What's going on, Tamers? Welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. I'm your boy Varney in the studio today with my boys Mike and Dan. We are DigiGuard United. Woo!
We're not doing that. That's not a thing.
Super!
It's not happening. No.
Sorry, I can't talk about One Piece for too long this time. So just some preface stuff, comments that I guess I can address. So there was a comment that was made about me talking about One Piece for too long. So just to make some clarification for new listeners, returning listeners, this is a podcast about the Digimon card game. We talk about everything and anything Digimon related, though. That being said,
including because it's a TCG, other TCGs can be included in said conversation if need be.
I was gonna say, yeah. So I will talk about other Bandai, namely Bandai card games, but like Dan said, just because it's TCGs, every TCG relates to one another in some way, because we're going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! A fair bit in this one, not directly, but by relation, a lot. And so I just want to say, like, I don't think I ever drone on. I apologize if I do. I try not to, but every topic that we discuss is in relation to some topic at hand. So if you happen to pop into the podcast, like whether you listen now and then you tune out and then you come back in, just know that like everything that we discuss, especially when we're live, we'll stray more when we're live, but even then I try to keep it in check. But we don't really get off topic here. We try to keep it all within the realm of TCG and especially Digimon and relating back to that. So that was just in relation to a comment that was made earlier this week. I just wanted to make that clarification and apologize to anybody who might have thought that, you know, we do the things that listeners don't like, because we do try to appease our listeners as much as possible. That being said, hello, welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. What's going on, guys?
A little late on that one, right?
Yeah,
that
was like a second introduction now. Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you're messing up the groove.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
So, we're gonna start off first by talking about poll results. This poll is going until this Thursday on Spotify, but because we're doing the podcast today, Monday, because we are back on track with our podcast, we will be talking about it today. I had asked the community, has the Digimon card game ever experienced a tier 0 deck? And if so, what deck? I gave them the options of Lord Nightmon, Gabubond, Jesmon, Blue Hybrid, Metal Garurumon X, Black War Grey X, and other. Out of 9 votes, we have 1 vote for Lord Nightmon. We have 3 votes for Metal Garurumon X and 5 votes for Blue Hybrid.
Oh no. No.
I can see why at the time Lord Nightmon might have been considered tier 0, but all things considered, I think Lord Nightmon, it was a pain in the ass deck to play against, and it definitely took up a lot of representation. But if you think about, you know, other decks that were around at the time, what was it? It was Nidhogg back then.
Nerfed Nidhogg.
Yes and no.
It was that
Nidhogg
green,
was played.
It was that green control deck with Reflegiamon.
Yeah, but that was like nerf deck because HPD was already hitting Arcomon.
Yeah, I think back then, like back then it was like Lil Floop was really big. Security control was like super big. Security control, you could even.
That was like starting.
It was security control Megazoo.
Yeah, because you're playing like. That's when Zortafeet just came out. Greymon Tribal was decent.
That was
Imperial was up there.
Yeah, Imperial was still running around. Old jamming Imperial.
Old school Shine and U-Force is still a thing.
There was there's also BT5 was a super diverse meta, I think. Actually.
And that was also
it was like Turbo
OTK shot.
Oh yeah, remember that one? The best red deck at the time.
No, caps. It was still
Greymon Turbo was better, I think. There's just a lot.
That one Omni Shoutmon used to fucking wreck your life. And that was actually, if you remember, that was like when we first got raid, air quote.
Blitz.
raid. Yeah.
What are you talking
Remember
about?
Z Greymon?
Because Shaman, you could attack unsuspended.
Yeah, because Z Greymon, like when you would blitz and then Z
But-
Greymon would let you swing into unsuspended. That was the beginning of raid, the keyword.
No, it's a little different. But also,
Relax.
Greymon Tribal was better because you could just take 5 security and then blitz Omni still.
This is true. This is
Not
true.
the only, like literally, the only
we have
things that
memory
changed. No.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
The only things that changed from Greymon Tribal in BT5 to Wargray X in BT9 was the addition of X antibody. That was it. The deck is completely the same.
yeah, yeah.
In Alterous modes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the
just got better.
promo,
Back
the
then, you
promo
ran-
Alterous.
Back then,
You had to play
you ran
the one
old.
cost Evo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, but okay. So that was the one vote for Lord Knight. Metal Garurumon. I'm just gonna bring one thing up here for the person who said, for the 3 people who said Metal Garurumon X was tier 0. The one tournament that I could find in my short amount of time looking where Metal Garurumon was air quote tier 0 was back in November for Top Cut's webcam regional. You can find all of these results on Eggman events, in which we had first place Metal Garurumon X, second place, third place, fourth place, and 5th place, all Metal Garurumon X, as well as 9th place, 11th place Metal Garurumon X. So arguably, okay, Metal Garurumon was tier 0 because XYZ, blah, 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 whatnot and so forth. This was also an Ultimate Cup. So this Ultimate Cup had the original rendition of our mulligans, which for those of you who don't know was set out your security, look at your top 5. If you don't like it, put it to the bottom, draw a new 5. This same tournament had 3 Hydramon tops, 2 Secon, 2 Yellow Hybrid, 1 Gaiamon, and 1 Blue Flare, because this was EX3 format. So there was a fair amount of decks that top. This is what, 6 different decks? 6 different decks topped. And out of representation, it's not even 50%. That's maybe 40, let's say 42, 45% Metal Garurumon top. So arguably, okay, maybe it's a very well represented deck, but tier 0. That was its best performing event that I can see here. Everything else was below representation, and there were a lot more decks afterwards. So
I think people for Metal Garurumon had like the just Melga fatigue, where it's like, damn, again, 4 or 5 decks topping, and then it's usually in the finals or something like that, especially from like BT9 to like, what, BT 10ish?
I would say even
most of said before BT 11.
I would even say past BT10 just because of the cross 4 nerf, so everybody just went back to playing Melga. Who would
That's what I said, BT10. So
yeah.
Because
BT9,
EX3 came out
BT10.
before EX03 came out before BT10, correct?
Yes. No.
Yeah.
No. Because no. Yeah. No.
Okay, it was after.
Because we got Blue.
I knew it was the same time frame. It was the same exact time frame, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the fatigue right before Black Greymon.
It was very close.
So it was like
to
a
each other.
super. Yeah. It was super long time. So I'm assuming people. It was after EX. EX3 came out like remember it came out like 4 weeks after or something like that.
Yeah.
It was super close. I just think it was people were thinking tier 0 because they were so tired of seeing the deck and they kept seeing it, and you know it was winning a lot too. So I think that's why people think tier 0. It was just like, you know, a great tier 1 deck.
It was after BT10. EX3 came out.
That's exactly what we just said.
I'm blanked, bro. I'm blanked. All right, but yeah. So
and then we still saw, even after the Greymon exit, right? We saw a Melga deck top or something like that too. So
yes.
like it's still a strong deck.
Still a strong deck. It's
just not tier.
So
tier 0, never tier.
I was explaining to my wife like, you know, the different archetypes and the different deck archetypes that you typically have in TCGs. And generally it boils down to, on the one end of the spectrum you have aggro, on the other end of the spectrum you have control, and then in the middle you have what we call mid-range, cuz makes sense. And I mean, mid-range decks are very good, right? Because they're decks that can flip the switch very easily. And Melga was kind of if Lord Knight, what would you consider a Lord Knight? A little bit more aggro, right? Like on I would say like if there's a
Board Swarm aggro.
Yeah. Because it had elements of control between the DP reduction and the blockers.
Don't say Melga's mid-range. It's just straight aggro that just so happens to have
you have blocker
bouncing abilities.
I was just about to say you have blocker and bouncing.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It's not mid-range.
It does matter.
It straight up goes burn.
It does go burn. Yes, and it has blocker and bounce.
But it's not mid-range. Blackwood Greymon is the perfect example of mid-range.
I would call.
That is not.
I would say Hunters is a good.
Hunters is the perfect mid-range deck.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Blackwood Gray.
I would not say Blackwood Gray is mid-range. Blackwood Gray with Gaiomon. Blackwood Gray with Gaiomon is mid-range. Blackwood Gray is control. War Gray is
still pop
aggro.
off and attack. You put a sec +1 on that same stack. You're swinging into a bunch of shit. You're killing shit and you're attacking at the same time. That's mid range. We all know that Blackwood Gray has been mid range, unless you go promo Blackwood Greymon for the OTK style. That's the only version that's not mid range.
Yeah, that's aggro.
Yeah, I would say Blackwood Gray is mid ranged, but I would say the perfect mid range deck would probably be Hunters.
Agreed.
Currently now, but yeah.
And at the time,
Blackwood Gray is mid-range because
Melga was a very good mid-range deck.
Melga's not mid-range. You're
That's not mid-range, bro.
You had
just
the
because
ability.
you can do blocker and bounce.
Melga's not mid. Blackwood Gray was still mid-range when Melga was up there. Mid-range is literally like a slower deck that like helps you fend off the speed of aggro by playing like more like better, like stronger things, right? Like so the blocker
that has control
like
tactics.
Establishing a blocker and being able to unsuspend would make it mid-range. Melgo was just aggro, you know?
So, it just so happens that Melgrumon X is a blocker that can bounce. But that does, and 99% of the times Melga's win doesn't even matter about the blocker.
Right.
Let's be real. It's about the OTK.
Right.
It's aggro as AF. Don't even try to say it's mid. Don't try to do that. It just so happens to have bouncing ability. It's an aggro AF deck.
Right. We'll agree to disagree on that one. Metal Garurumon X at the time was it was a really good consistent deck. Blue Hybrid.
Can I ask you a question?
He went from mid-range to consistent deck.
I gotta ask you a
No,
question.
because you don't want to hear mid-range, so why am I going to throw mid-range back? We're not talking about this. We're 12 minutes into the podcast. We got to get to locals and finish to talk about Blue Hybrid being the most tier 0
I'm sorry.
deck.
I gotta interrogate you because that was a bad take.
Interrogate.
Yeah, that was just a bad take. So what you would call a deck that was faster than the OTK deck mid-range? Because Wargrey X was another OTK deck, and Melga was faster. So you're gonna call Melga X mid-range?
Because it has blocker and bounce, yes.
You are.
I would call. Okay, I wouldn't
so
call
wrong.
With that, you go. Blackwood Greymon is a OTK aggro deck. With that
no, Blackwood Gray is not even close.
Exactly. Same thing when it comes to Melga being mid-range.
I wouldn't call Blackwood Gray mid-range either.
What would you call Blackwood Gray?
A control deck.
Bro, what?
Yes.
It's not strictly a control deck.
How'd you win a regionals?
You see, what happened was I woke up on that day, I messaged the judge, and I said,
what kind of deck is Examon?
Examon? Oh, that's an aggro deck.
What?
We're moving on, bro. We're moving on.
You're not serious right now.
You guys can let Varney.
You're not serious right now.
Y'all can talk about it in the comments. It's gonna be the new poll for sure.
Yeah, you're
in the
insane.
new poll. It's gonna be asked. How should we work? Are we just gonna talk about Melga specifically?
Yeah, go ahead and ask.
Just is Melga? What type of deck is Melga? Aggro, mid-range, control.
Yeah, and the answer is going to be aggro. And if you say that they're like anything else, you're wrong, like Varney.
Okay,
just so we're clear.
We'll do that. And in the YouTube video, you can leave it in the comments down below.
Like what, bro? All right, moving on.
Blue Hybrid. What would you say Blue Hybrid was?
Control.
That's 100% control.
3000% control. You literally stun the board. It's the whole point of the deck.
That's the whole point of control.
So you wouldn't say blue hybrid is mid range?
No, bro.
You know what, Mike? You know what it is? It says young mind of TCG because he's been playing TCG for the last maybe 5 years, something like that.
That's fair.
Maybe that's what it is. Because he never played Yu-Gi-Oh. He never seen what control mid-range decks were back in that.
That's perfect that you say that, right? It is perfect that you say that because as just a competitive Digimon player, that's how I look at Melga and that's how I look at Blue Hybrid. But if I look at it that way, imagine all these people in the Facebook group that are complaining about the game. How do they look at these decks? And why do these decks aggravate the shit out of them?
They're a bunch of Yavarnis, bro. That's the issue. Except somehow you're good at the game, which is just worse. Also, I don't understand. I don't get it. Because they're like really bad at the game.
It's because I don't complain. That's what it is. I don't bitch about.
I don't know.
I'm not in the Facebook group every day like a certain somebody talking about how the game is becoming too fast and about how these alien cards that are revealed for BT14 are power creep or
I'm trying to play Spirals and Digimon. What's up?
Or about how power creep isn't how you keep a game going, and that if you have to resort to power creep, then the game was destined for failure within the first 2 years of it being made.
Yeah, I don't, to add to that, I'd like to say that I was the #1 comment on that post and that I got more likes than the original post. I got
40. He had like 40. He has like 40 plus likes.
My comment going crazy.
Which one was that? Which comment was that?
All I said was this group has never gone a single day without complaining about something.
That was funny as shit.
But like, all right, let's continue your point. Okay. Beelzemon. Is it aggro?
Don't do it. Don't do it, Yavarni. Don't say anything about that. Do not say it because you can play Deathslinger and Rivals Barrage and other one that's mid-range. Don't do it.
It's Secon. Because you play 4 Deathslinger, you play the 4 Rivals Barrage, you play the other thing, and you have access to blocker, and you pop. No, I'm kidding. It's aggro.
What's Red Hybrid?
Oh, Red Hybrid's aggro as fuck.
Oh, it's aggro, but that's so weird because some of their Digimon actually have DP deletion effects. Does that make it? Are you sure it doesn't make him control you apart?
Is Burning Greymon the keystone of the deck?
I'm just wondering.
Is Burning Greymon the keystone of the deck?
It's a Digimon you very often go into.
And not the old one as much as the new one. And is Emperor Greymon something you go into unless you need it?
First of all, you're wrong. You play 4 of the old Burning Greymon, 4 of the new Burning Greymon,
Agreed.
and 4
yes,
Goonimon.
You are correct. But if you have the choice, you go into a Goonimon because I believe that's the one that lets you play a Takuya. And then the Burning Greymon lets you get DP boost, the new ones.
But Yavarni, bro, the new Emperor Greymon, when he digivolves, he deletes a Digimon.
Right.
Are you telling me that that's not control?
Right. Yes. So see, here's my logic, right?
Okay, yeah, let's see it.
So Emperor Greymon, honestly, I've never gone into Emperor Greymon playing Red Hybrid. That's first. No, straight up, I run 4 or 5. And I've never gone into it because I've never needed it. However, Emperor Greymon win button, right? Melga could end turn on the unbreakable stack except for a Gaia Force and make it so that you effectively can't do anything. So they take out all your security and tell you have to deal with it next turn. And then establish this thing that wipes your board because you had stuff out and it bounced everything back to hand. And then ended on Metal Gurumon X if they weren't able to finish game. That has blocker. And then next turn GG. So, okay, yes, it's not mid-range, but I still think of it, it's not like entirely aggro. Like, it's very heavy. Like, I would say is in between on that scale of aggro to mid-range. Like, yes, it's aggro for sure, but it has that element of mid-range.
Next topic.
So
it's just my opinion. Hate me if I'm right. Hate me if I'm wrong.
Alphamon. What was Alphamon? What was Alphamon? I need to know now. I need to know your thoughts on all of these.
Okay, so Alphamon. So original Alphamon was entirely an OTK deck, and it was played as an aggro deck, and that's why I hated it.
Okay, that's a good one. That's an okay take.
I would much have preferred it to be anything not aggro, mid-range to control. But if you tried to play it in such a way, there was no way you were keeping up. Because you could try as hard as you want to not, like it was there, right? It's that type of thing. Like the opportunity presents itself. You have Yuji, you have the Oriumon, you have Sec +1 on the stack. You might as well fucking swing, unsuspend, swing again, right? Like it was the only way to play the deck. Is also simultaneously why I loved and hated that deck all at the same time. Because I guess as this non-aggro player, this control-oriented player, I tried to play it way too mid-range to control-y, and it just never worked out.
Man, no wonder why you sucked with Alphamon back.
No lie. I mean, outside of fucking seeing Ryutamon and Dorumon in security every fucking game, bro. That had me.
That was wild. I remember that.
For those of you who don't know, back this was before we started up the podcast with Mike. After Dan and I took our hiatus, I played Alphamon for the entirety, the entirety of BT. What was it? BT9. It hit its peak, right? The entirety of BT9.
Well, it got hit. Didn't it get hit halfway through BT9?
I think it was halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got rid of it maybe a month before the hit came through, just because I was so fed up with the deck already. I played that deck because I love Alphamon and it's a black deck. And I was like, cool, you would.
Well, the reason why you got rid of it wasn't because you got rid of it. Unfortunately.
We rebuilt it for him.
I know.
We're not going to talk about the first time. The time I actually purposely got rid of it, black deck, you think like control, you think anything other than aggro, anything other than OTK. And, that's why I wanted to play it. I tried it and, I won with it here and there, but I just didn't do the hottest with it because I was not in the slightest bit aggro. I never had that mindset. So I never took the plays when it presented the opportunities. So I just got fed up with the deck and I stopped playing it. And then I sold it for my Mastamon deck, which Mike now has.
Yeah. Which he's sold now.
You guys remember a few weeks ago when I said that Varney was bad?
The neg on that is real.
You guys remember when I said Varney was bad at OTK decks?
I am.
Decks a few weeks ago.
Yes, I am. And that's why I got rid of Alphamon, because I can't stand it. Now the new Alphamon, I see the way that plays, and I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit better. I like that. That seems much more my play style.
That's some Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit if I've ever seen it.
That double or you can play. I was like, yo, this is. He went full 7. I was like, "This. Why is he doing all this extra shit?" And then he went to a whole another one, and then went for another 7. I was like, "This ain't real life."
Yeah, for people that don't know what we're talking about, Rustmaro's Alphamon versus Phoenixmon in the semifinals.
Bro, that was wild.
Crazy.
I legitimately didn't know who was gonna take that.
It's crazy.
That was one hell of a video.
He was literally one Akio away from just obliterating him that one turn.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. That video was really good though. Y'all should definitely give that a watch.
100%.
You know what the funniest part is? Like that the new support for Alphamon's gonna come around and watch people complain about how Alphamon's busted because of all its memory rewinding shenanigans.
Yeah, because you bring back Doro Greymon. Now you can play Dex Doro Greymon. So now you're way more memory efficient again.
Yes.
It didn't even Doro Greymon could have been a vanilla and it wouldn't even matter just because you could go Dex Doro Greymon again for 1 and then you just keep going and then you give your or you can more sources to remove for a game.
Exactly.
I would like to say that there's nothing wrong with saying that Alphamon will be busted because it is busted. Like that affects crazy. However, I like when there's multiple decks that are busted. And I think that that's the issue with people.
Degenerate decks, remember, 10 Can't name.
Yeah.
10
In the Digimon community, there's this like really weird misconception, whatever, where one deck is really good, so that means everything else, like that deck has to now become bad. Like that is what people see.
Agreed.
But like when they see a deck like Beelzemon, right, which has been in the game since BT2 with the Secret Rare, right?
I believe so.
So it's all the way from BT2 till now has that archetype been in the game, and it is just now Tier 1 finally doing its stuff. Okay, so think
Very
about that.
viable.
Think about that. And what's good about it is it's so good, it will be good in future sets. It might not be the best deck in future sets, but it will be a playable, viable deck going forward right now, as far as we know. Unless in BT4
nothing gets hit.
Yeah. So why are we going to hit it? Why do people hate it so much? Blah, 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 whatever. I don't understand. The notion should be, okay, awesome. This deck is finally good. It's going to be good for future sets. A lot of people have invested a lot of money into this deck. They've invested a lot of time. It's their favorite Digimon. What we should do is bring other decks up to the level now. Okay? Let's make other decks as good. Let's make other decks as viable. We have decks like Black War Gray and War Gray. Even after the hit, they're so good, they're still going to be great going into future sets. You know? They're going to keep being played. You have decks like Security Control, just top the regional. Security Control, I said this weekend, Security Control was a viable deck in this meta, and someone on Facebook told me that it wasn't viable and that I was wrong.
Did they say that because of Beelzemon X?
I forget what they said it was. They said, yeah, it was because of Beelzemon X.
Because of Beelzemon X.
It was because of Beelzemon X, but they said that I was wrong about it. And there's this weird notion that because a deck isn't Tier 1 or Tier 0, you can't play it. I think that those people are stupid. If you want to play a Tier 2 deck, by all means, play a Tier 2 deck. Go to a regional and play a Tier 2 deck. If that's your favorite deck, then play that deck. You don't have to play Tier 1. Just know that if you're not playing Tier 1, you're not playing the best decks in the format, you might not top. Because those Tier 1 decks are better. I was told this weekend that any deck that isn't Tier 1 isn't viable to play. Do you know how stupid that is? There are Tier 2 decks that have great matchups against Tier 1. They don't have great matchups against all Tier 1, or they would be Tier 1.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
Thank you.
You can't...
That's the thing right there.
It's crazy to me. Because Beelzemon is so good right now, right? Because all of its bad matchups are in lower tiers, which means they have bad matchups into the rest of the meta, you know? That's fine. That's completely normal for a TCG. Could you imagine if Beelzemon didn't have a bad matchup? Then it would be Tier 0.
Then that's Tier 0, exactly.
Then it would be Tier 0. But to say that no deck is viable unless it's Tier 1 is some of the just dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. And again, the idea, it shouldn't be, oh, we need to hit Beelzemon. Like, Beelzemon's not even that bad, in my opinion. Second of all, why are we hitting things? Stop hitting things. Let's let Bandai actually create cards and go forward. Now, if there are problem cards, like we've joked about MDF in the past and talked about it a lot, there are cards like MDF which limit deck building, which limit conceptual designs because they can't print level 7s now or something. Then yeah, a card like that deserves to be banned. In the past, Dan has said HPD should be gone. Like, even though it's already at 1, it should be gone. We're getting to that point where I am starting to agree with Dan a lot because it's getting to the point where that card really limits Bandai's conceptual design for green, right? They can only do so much because HPD is at 1, and a lot of times if you're playing against a good Bloom player, if they see that HPD,
all they need is that 1 HPD.
They're winning that game. They're going into courts. They're doing whatever you're done for, you know? So like, yeah, but Beelzemon is fine right now. Next set, like people are so caught up with what's happening right now. This format is almost over. We are heading into Ultimate Cup format next month. And then EX4 is right around the corner. Like BT12 format
comes out the end of June.
is literally almost done. BT13 Beelzemon is still good, still playable. It's not the best deck in the format. So why are we so upset about it?
Well, because Mike, it's 50% of the pie chart. It's tier 0.
The problem is
50% of a
that
pie chart is
the problem is that these Digimon players have such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Recency bias to the max is not even funny. Like, they see this, you know, we saw the pitchfork, like I think I saw Mario posted about Beelzemon X, pitchforks for Black Girl Greymon X. Black Girl Greymon X was literally around for a whole month, probably not even just because it was national.
like 3 weeks.
It wasn't around for a month.
We had one major tournament because it was at the onset of BT12. That was it.
Which was, you know, nationals. I mean, we had multiple nationals, obviously,
Yes,
you know, because US, Europe, and blah, blah, blah. But like, and then I think it was one regional, and that was it?
No, not even.
I don't remember.
I can't even remember.
It was just Worlds. Cool. That was it.
Yeah.
Which it didn't even win Worlds.
Was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Cross won Worlds.
Yeah. Hey, imagine that. Imagine getting the pitchforks for the supposedly the best deck in the format, which it was. But yeah, it wasn't even winning that crazy. Anyways, so like,
I'll be honest, Dan. I don't mean to cut you off. We don't even know if it was really the best deck in the format because people just started hopping on that Merva cross train.
Yeah,
it might have turned out that it wasn't even the best deck in the format. It got hit so soon we don't even know.
And these people were complaining how, you know, like, what's the word again? I'm looking for. Oh my God, I'm
recency bias again.
No. But like, they were talking about how like dominant Black or Greymon X, Hades Force is the most broken card ever. Hades Force needs to be banned to zero, not just restricted to 1. People were talking about being banned because it nullified decks.
Yeah. Remember that when they said it nullified deck archetypes like hybrids?
So wait. Yeah. So wait, Crosshearts, who has Tamer reliant deck, won Worlds.
We're talking about the best 16 players in the world, I think.
Nationals won. They won one. And what was in the finals against Black or Greymon? They had the Hades Force, you know, I mean US, you know, the US version, Black or Greymon versus Crossheart. The Hades Force was the reason why the dude won?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But the fact that Crossheart was still in the finals says a lot because he went through at least minimum 5 probably Black or Greymons, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the number.
I don't remember.
He went through a lot of them. So it never nullified any deck. If, you know, it put those decks in, maybe you could say in check, kind of. But did it really when Merva Cross can just Merva Cross and just, you know, Gravity Crush, gain much of memory, and then like, you know, OTK that one turn or something like that? Kind of, not really. You know what I'm saying? Because Black Greymon was such a setup deck, even though it was able to go fast, but it was still a setup deck. If you didn't have the correct setup, you wasn't doing the greatest at times. You could get away with it. I'm not gonna lie. You used to get away with it.
So Dan,
you could have, you know,
would you say Black or Gray is a control deck?
Yeah, it's mid range. But anyways, we're not continuing with this. We're not even gonna continue with that topic because, you know, this guy. Anyways, but yeah. So as I'm saying, and so now we're getting to it got hit because people complained about it. I feel like the complaint was so heavy that Banner was like, all right, we'll hit it. Black
we'll hit it early because we know we had to hit it. We'll just hit it early for you guys.
Is it a good card? Yes. Did it need to be
110%
hit? I guess. But again, I'm gonna reiterate this point again that I've been saying previously. If you're gonna hit Greymon X, you need to hit other stuff because we're gonna see a wild ass shift in power,
which we did. We did, and we are.
Beelzemon X. Yep. Merva Cross became, you know, that one tournament or 2 tournaments, whatever it was. That Merva Cross went boom, blasted this format. Basically, it felt like. And now we're coming around to Beelzemon X. And if you guys remember when we were talking about the ban list, I was like, yo, I think if they're going to hit Greymon X, they need to touch up Beelzemon because Beelzemon is going to be so much faster and there's not going to be a check in it anymore because of the speed is gone for all Greymon decks. And what's happening? as I said, Beelzemon is, outpacing everything. Especially if you mill perfectly. If you mill perfectly, it's GG. This doesn't matter what you could do. If they hit on every single mill, it's impossible. It feels like at times. Not gonna lie. But is it tier 0? No, it's just a very, very strong deck.
Now
that's a very strong tier 1 deck. Again.
Now let's talk about this, right? So Black War Gray obviously was very highly represented at Nationals. We don't have exact numbers, I don't believe, for how many people played it.
We did.
do?
I just don't know.
All right.
We have to look it
so
up.
let me take a quick look
did it.
and see if Eggman has it at all. Let's look
But
for
to your Hades Force point and stuff, Dan. I mean, what is wrong with having a card in the meta that can kill, that can keep tamers and other decks in check? There's nothing wrong with that, and people are just crybabies, in my opinion. And I don't even know how else to put it. If you overextend your turn and play freaking 5 tamers, right, or whatever, I don't know, and knowing that they're in raising right now, about to go up and blast you with a Greymon and potentially play Hades Force, that's on you, dog. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Now, Hades Force is just a good card though, and good players can exploit stuff like that. I've mentioned it a couple times here, but hard dropping a Greymon for 5 to Hades Force and kill a tamer on the field. It's that's how one of the rounds was won for Nationals, and it was a fantastic play. But there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that the game probably needs more interactions with tamers. That's why cards like Quartzmon are so good, because they help you interact with tamers. It's not fair that some decks I play hunters, okay? It's not fair that some decks can just get away with no interaction. And I think that maybe that's why a lot of people are frustrated with Beals, because at times it feels like there's absolutely no interaction, because they can just literally be at 1 memory and then mill cards and go to 7. So
Facts.
I get it. But with that being said, next set things change. Not next set, because next set's the X4. So not much really changes. But BT12 or BT13, the next main set, a lot of stuff changes.
So I can't find anything about representation of what Black War Gray was. But one thing I want to touch on real quick.
I feel like I remember hearing it was 300 out of 1,000 or something like that.
Okay. Well, before I forget, because I know
obviously
I forget.
it was the highest represented.
Obviously. One thing that Mike said, and is going to ring very true. Beelzemon obviously is a very powerful deck. And the problem is that, once at a certain point, it's just GG. There's nothing you can do. It's like Merva Cross in that way. Sometimes with Merva Cross, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be at 4 security, you think you're safe, and then next thing you know, it's Blinding Ray, Gravity Crush, and you're dead. And the only counterplay to that is trying to anticipate when to drop the memory blocker. And sometimes they can deal with that easily enough and still kill you or present lethal on the next turn, right? But I think because of how combo reliant that was, having to see all the Gravity Crush and Blinding Ray in hand, as well as having to just have the right setup of tamers and have the Merva and have stuff in trash, blah blah blah. I think that's why Merva Cross as a deck, I wouldn't hit it. It's a pain in the ass. I hate facing it. I wouldn't hit it though. Don't take any of our words as Beelzemon doesn't need to be hit. We agree. I mean, we basically said it just like Dan said back then. You hit 1, you need to hit multiple. Beelzemon should be hit, but it shouldn't be hit because it's tier 0. It should be hit because
I don't agree with it being hit.
You don't think it should be hit right now?
No, because I think that come BT13, I just said, I don't think it should be hit. I think we should let formats ride out. Come BT13, Beelzemon is no longer the best deck in format.
Right.
And it just becomes a really good deck that you should play. And I don't think that hitting a deck every single time something is better than another deck makes any sense at all. I think it's really bad for people. I think it's really shitty for people who have been waiting for this deck to be good since BT2, who have been buying all the alt arts, who just wasted all this stupid money on the premium deck sets, who chase down these rare box 1 every 3 case promo Beelzemons
The purple one.
Yeah, like it's just ridiculous. Like it's a bad concept. That's how you
But
lose
it's also a very easily accessible deck. You just buy 2-star decks and then you get a couple cards outside of that and you build a tier 1 deck.
No, I agree with all that. I'm just saying like it's this weird hole that we've gotten into because of how many things have happened with hits or the lack thereof, we could even say. Like, remember when Bandai was like, yeah, we're going to be more consistent with our hits.
Problem is, when does that happen?
When does it happen?
Are we going to have a set time frame for these hits, or are we just randomly going to have a hit like what we just have with Greymon X, or we're just hitting one card every format, something like what's going on with these so-called
more consistent hits? And that's the problem. Like Greymon X got hit. It slowed down Black War Gray at a time that Black War Gray shouldn't have been slowed down. And it slowed down Raid War Gray at a time where I guarantee if Greymon X hadn't been hit, we definitely wouldn't have seen 50% Beelzemon. We're
not seeing 50, no.
We would have seen at least a quarter for each Beelzemon in War Gray, because War Greymon would be so powerful with Greymon X at 4. And it's just unfortunate that you can tell. This is for all the people last set who said, well, if you want the cost reduction, you can just play Deltamon. You can play win rate. The problem isn't the cost reduction that you can gain by playing extra cards. It's the cost reduction that you gain by playing a card that is in archetype and effectively replaces already a free Digi-Evolution. Like,
but there's a difference with the raid one because of that raid, the raid Metal Greymon with Greymon X. Deltamon will bring it to 2, but the important part is that you was able to make it 1 cost Evo.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, because Deltamon won't reduce it because of it's not composite. No, it's dual color black. So
it's still 2 color. That's what I said. It will cost 2 because it normally evos for 4. But remember, because if it evos over Greymon in name, it becomes a 3 cost. Greymon X will make it to
yes, that's right, correct.
Cost.
It was just a 1 cost, and Deltamon will not do that. And I mean, that was the thing for Black War Gray. And I mean, hey, like as an Xmon player, I benefited from Black War Gray being hit for sure. Or again, maybe that's just because I hate playing against Dan, because people would say that Xmon's a bad matchup for Black War Gray. It is what it is. I didn't have to play too many Black War Gray, and I'm happy about that because it's actually a pain in the ass matchup for me. That being said, Raid War Gray not having that Greymon X, you don't play Deltamon. Deltamon's not the answer. You don't want to do Deltamon you didn't even want to do it in Black War Gray. Dan's right. 1 cost Metal Greymon into your 3 cost War Greymon that now has Raid, 3k DP, and Reboot, and has a built-in unsuspend. Yes, the deck was busted, but to Mike's point, not in a bad way. Like, that deck was busted and Beelzemon was busted. Hunters is busted. Hunters tucks a Digimon under anything. Hunters skirts all forms of removal, and that's severely overlooked. It's the new Chaos degrade. You can't get around a Restordramon Superior mode because sometimes you just got to play the game. More often than not, against Mike, I'm like, do I put this tamer down because I need this tamer and leave myself susceptible to superior mode? And sometimes you just have to as War Gray. I saw somebody say, well, Machine Dramon players don't play Analog Man. They'll just tuck your stack under Analog Man. Yes, correct. But sometimes you either don't have a better play and it's better than giving them 3, or you just don't have anything better to do and you need that to accelerate your game state.
Yeah, I actually tried to comment on that post actually. And for some reason, like half of my comments don't go through on the Facebook page. It says I'm like messing up community guidelines or something stupid, but not because like I'm cursing. I'm not being mean. It keeps saying that like not a buy/sell group whenever I comment.
Oh yeah, which is it's weird. Stupid. You need to be picky about your wording sometimes.
But this is what I said. I had the comment pulled up that got declined. I said, I'll be honest, without the redirects, I would just go wide around your board with Hunters. You should really focus on getting a Mega Dramon with the kill 3 cost tamer inheritable out first and early, so you can kill their tamers off fast so they can't respond. Not having Analog Man just means I'll kill you in like 3 turns.
I don't know if you're allowed to say kill, I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Is that what it is?
It censors
Yeah.
stupid stuff sometimes. Like I tried to say shit, and somebody tried to say shit.deck, and we're not allowed to say shit. So it censors some words, and kill might be one of them. I don't know for sure, but that's what would stand out to me.
Maybe I'll have to try and. I don't care enough to go back and fix it.
Exactly.
But my point being that like, without analog man on the field, that deck sucks.
You're not. How are you advancing your game state? Like unless you have the perfect god stack and you can draw your level 3, 4, 5, 6, and then draw into Chaos X without ever going into analog man. Like
Yeah, and also being that afraid to play the game, you're probably not good at the game because what are you going to do if I swing into your security?
and an analog man pops out, which I can tell you happens to me more often than not against Mike. I don't have Timbers in security and regionals, but when I play against Mike with hunters, there's always a tie in security.
Hey, or you could be me and play Machine Drum regionals and never see analog man. Period.
There you go. So it's just you can't.
No, but like that's the point with the hunters thing. Like I played a hunters deck and game 1 I went with especially since I didn't have analog man in hand, it was easy to not play analog man, you know. I didn't even have to think
yeah,
about
exactly,
it, you know? Right. So I built the stack. I got a chaos monster stack that was, you know, put in work, right? And even though I got them down to 0 security, and then I was also building for a new one in the back still, I still lost the game just because I didn't have the most important piece, Mega Digimon. I had
literally anything else.
Up. I don't even remember what I had. It might have been blocker. I don't remember. But I had like the Sec +1 Mega Digimon, which is not the Mega Digimon I want to see. And then like, it wasn't like the ideal stack per se against that matchup. If I would have had at least the 1 Mega Digimon, at least every turn I was gonna keep check with those tamers because his tamer board got so ridiculous. It was probably like 6 to 8 tamers on board or something. It was crazy because I would hit a couple in security, he's playing them, and then it was just like out of control. Like the amount of like advantage he was gaining. Like he had at one point at the end of that game, he had 2 U's, 2 or 3 Taikis, one to girl, and then like the white one, Clockman.
Yeah. Watchmaker.
And
Watchmaker.
so like, yeah, Watchmaker. And so like, not having that ability to pop those and keep that in check was very hard to deal with. And then like, game 2, I had Analog Man, but I tried to not play it just to see if I can get it out of it. But they were like, my stacks was just terrible, something like that. I don't remember, or I didn't like. It took me forever to get to Machine Digimon or something. I don't remember what it was, and they just bum rushed me because they have the capability of doing that. You go to rush them in superior mode, rush them on superior mode, blah blah. You're swinging for a lot of checks at times, especially if you have like the Watchmaker out as like GG at times. So sometimes you just gotta play it out and just hope to the gods they don't have it. I guess like
you can't always play into
weird.
it. Like
it feels weird. Yeah.
You like, for example, Beelzemon, right? People say something about how there's some matchup. Oh, I guess it's Dark. I guess some people consider Dark Knight X a good matchup in the Beelzemon because they can pop the Iron Mako. I guarantee I could bust your ass without Iron Mako. No shot. I do not need Iron Mako to whoop anybody's ass with Beelzemon. Like, Iron Mako, as good a card as it is not the best card in that deck by a landslide.
No, but that wasn't the main reason. Most of the reason is because you can have multiple blockers. So.
I know that, but like, that's what some people say. And they say that like, oh, if you're going to hit a card from Beelzemon, it's got to be Iron Mako because the card is busted. No, it's not. It's really good. It's a good card. We have good cards. Did you guys know? We have good cards in this game. But it's not the problem card. Is the deck is really good. It's really tuned. It's had what? 16 sets of support up until this point, like indirect support. Sorry. It's not actual support, but
it's
like,
really like 3 sets. It's like 3 sets.
The deck has been out since BT2, and 16 sets have come out since, and we've gotten support throughout those 16 sets, not from every set, but the deck has gotten good to this point. I'm fumbling my fucking words, all right? Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Support
leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. It's been 16 sets since Beelzemon has been a deck to finally get to this point. And it has good cards, and there's no problem with having good cards. It doesn't mean that Iron Mako is the card that needs to be hit. It doesn't mean that Iron Mako is the reason that you're gonna win a match or lose a match. If you could show me a match where Iron Mako, you not having Iron Mako lost you, I'd be very surprised, and I'd probably call you a bad Beelzemon player to that point. Go ahead, Dan.
In regionals that happened, I Machinedramon and popped two. I had Chaosmon X. I popped his whole board, literally his whole board, and he needed those Iron Makos eventually, and it ended up winning the game.
For you?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. That was a bad Beelzemon player. But then again.
No, he did everything correct. He did everything correct, but he needed those to get to the point where he needed to, as in put the Wizardmon promos or whatever it was. Because he told me after, he was like, yeah, if you didn't do that, I had such and such in hand to like continue the mills go in, like, you know, get more advantage. I was like, yeah, I figured, you know.
But I was gonna say,
it happens.
On that point, like, it happens, and
but that's not the card you hit. If you ban, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
If you ban anything, Iron Mako is not it.
If you ban Iron Mako, that's just
no.
What are you gonna play? I'll just play 4 more Impmon. I'll play Impmon Rush, baby. Like, it's
just play the old Iron Mako again, and you're fine.
Not even, I wouldn't even bother. It's such a tempo waste. I'd probably play Jack Raid, for heaven's sake, for some stupidity. Like, it's just stupid. Like, there's a lot of stupid stuff, right? But like, in your point, Machinedramon's a very bad, air quote, bad matchup into Machinedramon is a bad matchup for Beelzemon, just because them trying to delete your Machinedramon is very bad once you get Chaos X established. The problem is, Beelzemon X is so fast, sometimes it doesn't matter. How many Beelzemons did you face at regionals?
I wish at first more. Only one.
You only faced one, and he won the one. And how? I'm not gonna. We won't talk about how early it was, because I want to.
Round one.
Okay, I'm not.
Off the rip.
One Beelzemon match, and the one Beelzemon match is the one that you won. Damn, that's tragic, bro. There was
I was very confident.
There was 118 Beelzemons, bro.
I was very confident in my Beelzemon matchup, like, honestly, because like, even if you didn't have blocker, like, that deck can't do anything about Tamer. So like, if Analog Man's on board, is like, you know, I just need a regular ass Machinedramon and I'm fine, honestly.
That's tragic.
Or even just Chaos.
There was 118. There was 118 Beelzemon, and you didn't face. You only faced one. You had a poor conversion rate, buddy.
Oh yeah, for that, I would have loved to verse more. I'm probably like the only psycho that's saying that. Like, I wish I played more Beelzemons, because like, I was just very confident in that matchup, and I versed everything underneath the sun that was like a bad matchup for me.
That brings me back to a point I wanted to make earlier. Everybody's playing Beelzemon X right now. There are 118 out of 180 players playing Beelzemon X. That's a lot. That's what, 20... I put the percentages here. That's 24.6% Beelzemon X representation. The next highest representation, the next 3 highest representations were Hunters, War Grey, and Red Hybrid at between 11 to 14%. And then the next deck was Black War Grey at 5.4%. So like,
yeah,
there's a lot.
And after that, I think it was Machinedramon.
Literally everything else. So it
was like 20 something Machinedramon.
There is a lot of people playing Beelzemon X right now, and that's not a problem. Like, you guys want a deck hit because you're like, the deck is too powerful, the deck is tier 0, the deck is this, the deck is that. The deck is good, and people will play a deck because the deck is good. But just because the deck is good doesn't mean the deck is tier 0. That correlation doesn't draw. 118 players, for all we know, next regionals, that could be it could be the same 118 players. The conversion rate for Beelzemon into the top 16 was something like 8.6. I have it right here. 6.8% conversion for Beelzemon into the top 16, with the next highest conversion being Red Hybrid at, no, actually that's a lie. It was Black War Grey at 3.9%. But Red Hybrid.
Well, honestly, technically it's Yellow Hybrid.
Yes, sorry. 100% conversion for Yellow Hybrid. But 3.9% for Black War Grey and 3.6% for Red Hybrid. All it takes is somebody to sit down and play test and be like, I don't want to play Black or Beelzemon X, or something. And then a bunch of people catch on to that, and then your 118 players, that's fine. But your 9 Beelzemon tops total, was it? Your 9 Beelzemon tops go down because those Beelzemon players got shattered by something else. Like it's the matchups, right? Like Beelzemon has a good matchup into everything and a bad matchup into Machine Dramon if they get set up first. And outside of that, Hunters? But you can outrush Hunters easy.
No, Hunters is probably one of the.
War Greymon.
Beelzemon's a bad matchup for Hunters because Beelzemon's so fast and Hunters requires some setup.
Yeah. And even you think about like fast, right? With like Red Hybrid's fast. Red Hybrid had a good conversion rate, everything considered, but only 55 people played the deck. If you want to do the math, you multiply that, you get the 118. That would be a 7.2% conversion rate if like the same amount of good players played the deck at 100 and some freaking players playing. Like decks are good, guys, but decks don't need to be hit because they're good or because they have high representation. People will play a deck because they like the deck. People will play the deck because the deck is good. But don't mistake that for the deck being tier 0 because they're not. Tier 0, we talked about it and I said we was going to talk about it this podcast. Dan, Mike, what's tier 0 in Yu-Gi-Oh? Right now? Is it still tier 0?
No, they destroyed.
Oh, they destroyed. Okay.
Tier limits, they destroyed it.
And what did tier limits do that made it tier 0?
Dominate everything. If you didn't play tier limit, you wasn't winning.
But what was the deck strategy? Was that the one with the board lock, right?
So I played it. Kind of. You basically mill out your deck, and every time you have all your cards have like effects where they go to the trash, then like you get an effect popping off, and then they have their like crazy fusions.
So it's
have
Beelzemon.
Like when your opponent summons something, you can negate it. And then if it goes to the trash, it comes back. Like it does so much that it was just so crazy, so dominant that it didn't matter what. If you wasn't playing anything but that, you had no chance of winning. And then you can also like, because it was like Ishizu tier for those decks. So like a lot of Ishizu cards like interact with it. So Ishizu cards will like allow you to mill more, allow you to just do crazy stuff. But they had like top 16. I think it was like 14 of them was tiers or something. That first tournament, it was something crazy. It was clear and head, shoulder, tier 0, the most dominant of dominance. Tier limit, the deck is so powerful that people were saying that's probably like top 2 of greatest Yu-Gi-Oh decks of all time.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Because there's been some crazy shit.
Like at its strength, as high as a lot of people were saying like tier limit is probably like the greatest deck ever, like top 2, top 1. Like I was watching videos on it. It's crazy. Like the deck was so wild. So they just came out of a tier 0 format. And so like Spirals top 16 was like, 10 of them was Spirals, something like 12 of them was Spirals. Pendulum Magicians, they was, top 32, or 30 of them was that deck. You know what I'm saying? Like these are what real tier 0 decks are. These decks were, it's head and shoulders. You cannot play this deck in a format unless to win, you needed to play that deck. Because that deck was head and shoulders greater than everything else. Did not matter what you brought to the table. Even if you brought a deck that was purposely meant to counter it, guarantee you're still gonna lose probably, honestly, for most parts. That's how bad it was. And your deck strategy was so set up to be, how do I beat that deck? Like that's how a lot of it is still, like it's that bad. Like when it came to tier 0s, like what others? And Yu-Gi-Oh past formats.
I got one. Dragon Links.
Yeah, Dragon Rulers.
Oh, Dragon Rulers too.
Dragon Links.
But Dragon Links was like 85% of a regionals one time. Yeah. Dragon Rulers was that is the first negate board I ever remember. Was that the first negate board format? Is that when that started? Dragon Links was insane because what they would do is They could literally lock you out of. They were just so stupid. They could like link and stuff, and you couldn't even play the game. You literally
Dragon Links. No, before that, I thought you were talking about Dragon Rules. I was like, wait, no.
No. Dragon Links.
No, before that they had, because Spiral was before Dragon Links, and that was a whole negate board. You can make a U link,
was it?
The U board, and GG.
Okay, gotcha.
Because remember, like those nightmare cards were all around, so like you made that, and then you pop off with Spirals.
Yeah, Spirals was bad.
I feel
Dragon Rulers.
I feel like on people's terms, like on like if the Digimon community were to experience Yu-Gi-Oh! Not during an actual Tier 0 format, I feel like they'd be the type to call Drytron a Tier 0 deck.
I don't know. Probably, but also Yu-Gi-Oh!
I was out of it for that, but like,
yeah, me too. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has its own thing. If you go, it's called Zodiac Duelist. It's the same people that like if they were to be Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, they'd be on Zodiac. All they do is bitch about the meta. That's it. They're just really annoying. Yeah. They're the most annoying Facebook posts ever. And it used to be like a really cool group like 15 years ago, and it's just evolved into like the most annoying shit I've ever seen in my life. And it's exactly where this Digimon TCG group is heading. It's the same posts. Like, I swear, I bet you half those people are members of that page still. Like, it's just the truth. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's dumb, it's stupid, and it's infuriating to like open a Facebook group every day, and it's like the discussion posts are nice, the legitimate discussion posts, but the ones that you open up to and then you see somebody talking about how the direction the game is going, or they think the game is dying, or they complaining about some card or some deck, and it's never limited to just one person. It's always like I
literally opened the Facebook group. The first thing I see, Facebook app, my fault. The first thing I see, Beelzemon needs to go. Like, come on now. Like, relax, people. Like, it's not really that serious.
The only reason, I feel like this wasn't resolved earlier. The only reason I said earlier Beelzemon should be hit is just because Greymon X was hit. And it's already kind of like muffed up the format. With Greymon X being hit, because remember, not for you guys, but for our listeners, Japan didn't have Greymon X hit for BT12 or BT11. So Black War Grey ran the show in BT11 for them in a best of one, mind you. Raid War Greymon ran the show in BT12 because you could swing over Black War Grey, so it was the superior Greymon deck. And it also simultaneously bodied everything else because, again, Blocker, Raid War Grey plus Hades Force and Greymon X. So you're a fast, very fast. I think they basically played it in OTK style, right? That was what it was. Raid War Grey.
It was like OTK style, yeah.
Because you have the piercing inheritable.
You still can,
but even it's crazy because even then their meta, from what I understand, like even if you go onto like the Digimon Meta website, it was still decently diverse.
It was diverse, exactly. Like BT12, even though Raid War Grey ran the show, like it's not like people didn't clamor. I think they actually could care less about that deck. And I've heard more complaints about Beelzemon X, the deck, rather than Raid War Grey. So going into BT13,
I've heard like I really never heard the complaints either. And we had in that group, there's some Japanese players. They wasn't like going ham when they had BT12 for like.
No, they didn't care. And BT13, it was the same thing. Nobody cared. As a matter of fact, they didn't care.
Oh no, they care about the Shine.
Well, I was gonna say they didn't care about anything except Beelzemon X until Shine hit, and then they're like, Shine is busted because one, Greymon X was also really good in Shine. But then there's also Marcus.
No, they still never played. They didn't play Greymon X.
Yeah, what are you talking about? They don't play that in Shine. You can't play Greymon X in Shine, bro. You know that the Rise Greymon's Digivolve on top of
BT13,
on top of Geo Greymons, right? They don't go on top of Greymon X.
I have most definitely seen lists running Greymon X.
I've never seen Grey X.
Never seen that.
I've seen the BT13 decks.
I'll send y'all some lists later. That being said,
I've never
you don't have to send me lists. I'm looking right now and you're lying to me.
Am I?
We'll see lying.
We'll see about that. That being said, Marcus, like that became the new. I would say Japanese players. I don't really think they complain. Anybody who plays the Japanese meta, I don't see them complain about decks really. To be honest,
Yeah, they do.
What do they complain about? What was the last thing they complained about?
I remember hybrid. They used to complain a lot about hybrids.
Yeah, hybrids. They complained about hybrids.
But right now it's 100%.
They complained about
Shine Greymon and Royal Knights.
They complained the shit about OTK. Alphamon, they complained about really bad.
To be fair,
again, they play a really different format than us, so I understand.
That one's justified, but like
I think all of their complaints in Japan are justified because they play such shitty format. I don't want to play best of one and get high rolled by Beelzemon.
That's what I was.
Awful.
That's what I would
really
clarify
stupid.
with. They don't have the stupid complaints that we see on a daily basis.
I would also like to say
they definitely, because in their meta, Crossheart was probably the closest thing to actual tier 0 for them, because Crossheart was
fucking Cross 4,
everything and everywhere plus Dex X.
But Yellow Hybrid is the only deck that could keep that deck in check, and is the only thing that probably stopped Crossheart from achieving actual tier 0 status at the time.
They already got hit.
Not at the time that Cross 4 was running about for Japan.
Pretty sure it was.
No, they were running Harrismon, Tactical Retreat, Venusmon, Dexmon, Yellow Hybrid against BT10 Cross 4. I don't remember if they had it for BT11, so they might not have had it.
Well,
for
it must
BT11.
not. It must not have been doing too much because everything I saw was Crossheart was dominating.
That's what I'm saying. Like from what I remember and seeing in the results, like that was the only deck that stood in Crossheart's way to becoming true tier 0 in Japan. And I don't play the meta. All right, let's just preface that. None of us play the meta. We don't know. So if you're gonna come in here and flame us about tier 0 in the Japanese meta, blah blah blah, we don't play that meta.
It was Cross. I'm pretty sure it was Cross and Alphamon. Those were the two decks that was up there, and it was either Bum Rush with Cross, and then Alphamon was still doing Alphamon things for that.
Yeah,
I don't remember Yellow Hybrid being like a counter.
I know in BT9. I know in or is it BT9? Can't BT8 maybe BT8. When they had the Susano combo, I'm pretty sure Yellow Hybrid was like their tier 0. Like Yellow Hybrid was like absolute.
No, Blue Hybrid was probably.
No, I think it was Yellow Hybrid in Japan, which is why Blue Hybrid was so weird here, because it was so ridiculous compared to Japan. In Japan, they weren't playing it as much, but yeah, it was crazy. I think though in BT10 there was Venusmon for a little bit though, right? Because it was Yellow Hybrid Venusmon. BT10 is Venusmon.
Yeah.
So that was around, but I think that
so to put it in comparison, I'm looking on Digimon meta for BT10 and EX3 meta. They have 43 registered deck lists that are all first place, maybe like 1 or 2 second place for Crossheart. Yellow Hybrid had 20 exact, and that's just first place. And that's why I was saying, if it wasn't for Yellow Hybrid, I don't know what the other archetype breakdown, like it would be cool to see some kind of archetype breakdown for the entire meta. But there's a lot of decks here, but I'm sure Crossheart is the most well-represented deck. I'm sure, well, War Greymon doesn't seem to be here.
Yeah, because they hated Cross too, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Metal Garurumon, I don't.
They didn't have the.
Yeah, they never played that.
They didn't have Melga yet.
Grandis only had 8, according to this. Bloom had 17. So there's Bloom. What about
Bloom did?
Jessmon?
I remember Bloom was doing a lot better though in their meta than ours.
Yeah, Bloom did well. Jessmon also did well.
Jessmon didn't do shit in our meta.
But that's about it from what I'm seeing. So like there was a good few decks that were also good. But I feel like Crossheart would have ran away with the I mean, again, I don't know. But I feel like Crossheart would have ran away with it if not for Yellow Hybrid. And then once Yellow Hybrid got hit in BT11, I think the number 1 deck at that time was Black or Gray. And not that Yellow Hybrid could probably hold a candle to Black or Gray just because of Hades Force. I think Black or Gray would have dominated that, especially in a best of 1 regardless. But, you know, you never know.
I don't know. I think either way, like, Black or Gray at the time when they did decide to hit it, I thought, hey, they're hitting it because of what it can do in BT12 and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, looking at the breakdown now, like in retrospective, in BT12 for Japan, you go into Digimon Meta. And Digimon Meta, though, just so we're clear, does not show all regional tops and everything. It's just people that post their lists or get posted. So they're skewed. They're not always 100% accurate to what the regionals are like over there. I don't have anything for that. But with that being said, in Japan, 32 tops were War Gray, so like Raid War Gray. 31 was Beelzemon X, 26 was Black War Gray, and then 24 was Hunters, 22 was Red Hybrid, and then it goes down from there. You know, so
it was a good variety of decks, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's not regional breakdown, so I don't really know.
Well, they don't have regionals. You remember their competition system is a little bit wonky in that they have store championships that act as like their regionals, and you have to like
I thought that they
lottery for it.
Yeah, they're weird. Yeah, someone explained that to us a while ago. I forget how it works.
It's a weird type of thing. But locals are held in high regard there, typically speaking, because that's where
all I heard was from what Mike just said was that Greymon X died for no reason.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like looking at it like retrospectively, yeah, because at the time
it looks like it, yeah.
The most I could say, like when back then when they were like, we're gonna hit, like when everyone was like, hit Greymon X, I was like, the only defense I had for why they should hit it is what it can do in future sets. That was it. And but again though, retrospectively looking at it, it's tough because I don't know. It's really hard to say the real reason of the hit. Maybe it kind of, I guess, deters them from printing really strong Metal Greymons in the future, I guess.
How much stronger do they get, though, to be honest? Because BT12 Metal Greymon was pretty freaking good.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't say, like, I don't know why they hit it. I don't think they should have hit it still. You know, I've been saying that. I don't think we need a ban list or anything. I'd rather see the meta play out and be healthy. I don't think we're playing bad. And I gotta say now, a lot of the people, and I mean a lot of the people who are bitching every single day about this meta and about Beelzemon, how many of them are playing in events?
Thank you. That's what I was saying.
How many of them are actually playing in events?
How many are playing in events, and how many of them are actually good competitive players? I'm sorry, but I'm also not. Y'all can like take this clip. I encourage you to clip this and like go post it on Facebook because it'll give us some really good notoriety. The players complaining about these cards, Beelzemon, Greymon, dating back, the only one that was justified was Melga, and that's just because of what was hit prior to Melga dominance. But the new hits that we got in Greymon X, the lack of hits we've gotten with Beelzemon X, but that was due to Greymon X being hit, all of that stuff, you don't see, Dan Vang, Lychee King, Chase Bryn Lee, Primitive Kage out here complaining about it. No, they're good players who will just go into their testing room, sit down and think, am I playing the good deck or am I going to try to play something different? And they'll make that decision and they'll go Dan Vang, second place with Beelzemon X, because he said, I'm going to give myself the best shot at winning. No complaints. Whether the deck is, a legitimate problem or it's just another really good deck, you don't hear all these top players getting up in arms about how, deck needs to be banned, this, that, the other, only if it has really ever truly actually posed a problem. And to be honest, I can't think of a time that like I've seen top players do that. You get all these players who go to their locals with Fish Swarm and they're like, oh, look at me, I'm getting bodied by hunters because, I can't even say hunters, sorry. I'm getting bodied by Beelzemon X because they're rushing me faster than I can rush them, and like all this stupid stuff. And honestly, you guys just need to get good. You guys just need to get better at the game. Wow.
Why you gotta choose the deck I enjoy, Fish Swarm? Why you have to do that?
It's the only
you could use any other deck. You could have said Justimon OTK, bum ass.
It's not the first deck that comes to mind.
Fish Swarm is a solid deck. Fish form is actually a solid deck.
Yeah, green Digimon Quartz Turbo.
That's just trash. That's just trash.
Like, you guys and you know, people who listen to us, like, you know, at this point, you know how competitive Dan, Mike, and well, maybe not Mike, considering this weekend.
Why are we coming at me now?
All right, y'all know how competitive Dan, Mike, and myself are, so y'all know how we feel just about competition as a whole. You're a scrub player if you think that you can't, like, it's eat or be eaten in a way, you know? You either join the ranks and play Beelzemon X, or you sit down, get the fuck in the room and think, how can I beat Beelzemon X with anything other than Beelzemon X? That's what good players do. They make that decision, they go and they get their top 16. So unless your name sits on a top 32, I'll give you top 64. Maybe, no, not top 64. I take that one back. I'll give you top 32.
Dude, top 64 is fine, I think.
All right, Mike says top 64, so we'll go with top 64. If your name is not top 64 in these regionals and ultimate cups and these high player count tournaments, I don't want to hear you complain, because you have no value in the competitive side of this game. You have value in the tabletop casual play. You do not have value in the competitive side of the play.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, on another note, if your locals is that sweaty, just go to different locals. Or, you know, maybe that's ignorant to say. Not a lot of people have multiple locals around there, but I mean, for example, my locals, like, we're all pretty good friends at this point. We've been playing Digimon together for years at this point, you know, like, sometimes we don't feel like playing a stupid locals, so we'll be like, hey, let's do this today instead. Like, let's do like a jank format next week or 3 weeks from now. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like, consult with they should be your friends, you know, like the people at your locals, you're playing cards with them, you should be having a good time while doing it. Talk to them if you don't want to keep playing in a toxic meta or whatever, and say, hey, can we do this one week? Can we do this format? Like, whatever.
And nobody says you need to go to locals to play in locals, right? Like, obviously, let's put it this way. You don't need to go and play if everybody's playing the meta decks. You can sit down and you can play side games. You don't have
that's dumb.
No, because
you should go to your locals to play your locals.
Well, no, you should, but like you don't.
But you should go to your locals to hang out too, sure. But I'm not gonna go to.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you can go there and you don't have to participate in the tournament that's ongoing. You can play side games if you don't like the decks that are being played. Like, nobody's telling you to go, you know, play against 3 black or gray. 3 Beelzemon X if that's what everybody's playing. But at the same time, you should expect that if that's the type of players that your locals consist of. Alternatively, if you guys are playing for tournament packs or you're playing for, you know, store credit. I mean, we get what? I think first place gets something like 15 to 20 store credit for our non-tournament pack days.
Depends on the people.
Depends on the amount of people.
So, okay, so we normally get like 8 people. That's typically when we fire a tournament.
Minimum
is 8 people.
We usually get more people.
You should get more, but at minimum 8 people, in which it's something like $15 store credit. And hey, $15 store credit, if you win or top like 3 events, like, you can almost buy that's half off a booster box, you know? Like, if people come out there to win, what's your face for?
Bro, $15 is not half of a booster box,
if you
bro.
top or win like 3 events. So that's like $30, $40 together.
That's all I was like, wait, $15.
No, I mean, I said if you top or win like 3 events, 3 store locals, because we give.
I was like, this man's on something today.
I know at 8 players, we give prizing down to at least 3rd place, which would typically be like 5, 10, 15 or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But like, that stuff racks up, guys. And it's don't blame people if they want to come out and they want their store credit. I like store credit. Store credit has gotten me some pretty cheap shit. It's gotten Dan purchased the what was that
a Zoid one?
Yeah,
time?
that Zoid. And how much of the store credit?
Like $50.
Yeah, I bought this Zoid with store credit.
There you go. And those are like $75. So you're getting them for $25, like out of pocket.
Hey. You know, speaking of locals, we're gonna bash out real quick. This is, you know, our usual first topic of the day that we didn't get.
Oh,
to.
that's
Locals. How was locals, guys? Oh wait, both of you didn't show up. I did, so it's my turn now.
I was busy.
You were busy?
Yeah.
You were busy sleeping.
Yeah, I was busy.
Varn was busy too.
Well, he has a legitimate excuse. He has a wife.
Yeah. No, but usually like Mother's Day, I do my things early, like because she doesn't want to do things later. So I brought my mother to lunch and bought her gifts or whatever. So nice little afternoon, and then our locals start later, so I'm able to show up. Anyways, we had 9 or 10 people. It wasn't like a lot like usual or something like that. I played U-Force. That was fun. It's fun not seeing arenas at times. No, but I went 3-1 though. Played against Red Hybrid first round. Played against Crossheart. Then I played against Melga. Then I played against War Greymon. There we go.
And what did you lose to?
Melga. I went 3-1. Got Red Hybrid almost lost because I didn't see arenas and stuff, and I was just getting bum rushed. Yo, Mance had the most greedy play. He did it was Ian actually, so he tends to do it. He had like a burning gray. He went was it Atomic Blaster, Atomic something?
Atomic Inferno.
Yeah, Atomic Inferno.
Damn.
He went Atomic Inferno. Then he was like Gravity Crush. Then he did 2 more. I was like, okay, I see where we're going with this. So he swung for like all my checks that one game. I think that's the game he actually won probably because he won game 1 and I won game 2 and 3.
Hey,
and then
Ian.
And then I raised and then I bounced or something like that.
Hey, Ian, remember when I said you use Gravity Crush if you're going to win?
He was about to. I don't remember if that one was like game 1 or 2, whatever. But I was able to just get U-Force on the board and like, what? Quick question, Varney.
Yeah.
What's U-Force? What type of deck is U-Force?
I don't know. Let's see.
I'd say I will accept 2 reasonable answers from you on this. Everything else is wrong. There are 2 choices that I could probably let slide.
Mid-range.
That's an acceptable choice. Okay. I will allow.
Yeah. Because I did control his board while aggroing. So yes. Because I just kept bouncing all his hybrids and stuff. When I got to U-Force. And then U-Force X is kind of cracked. Low-key.
All right, y'all making me rethink something. So for any of our listeners who's made it this far into the podcast, you can definitively say that I was wrong at the beginning of the podcast. The reason I don't play Melga is because Melga's an aggro deck. There you go. You heard it here. 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 40 seconds.
Okay.
So I rescind what I said at the beginning of the podcast. I don't like Melga because it's an aggro
What kind of deck is Black War Grey now?
If you play it with Gaiomon, I will call it mid-range. If you do not play it with Gaiomon, I will not call it mid-range.
Still mid-range.
As a matter of fact, I guess
unless you go in promo Greymon.
I guess
promo
because you can't always count on the inclusion of Gaiomon, I would say it's mid-range, but like with Gaiomon, it's mid-range aggro, and without Gaiomon, it's mid-range control. Because yes, you can play the Sec +1 Greymon. It's not the same as when Gaiomon hits you for 3 fucking checks and reboots. When Black or Gray hits you for 2 checks, reboots, deletes, 2 checks, deletes, trashes, like it's still a little bit aggro, but it's not as aggro as when Gaiomon fucking blasts your face and destroys your board while doing 3 checks and missed all of that. So
yeah, so it was pretty Red Hybrid, pretty crazy. If you let it go rampant. And then I played Crossheart, like I mentioned before, 2-0 that one. U-Force X, again, busted card. Busted in the sense of
it's
what U-Force can do. You can't do anything else. Yeah.
Because apparently we need to start saying that cards are good and not busted.
Yeah, my fault. we can't. If we say U-Force X is busted, we're gonna have people have pitchforks for U-Force X, like we do Beelzemon X. And then round 3. Oh, Melga.
That's another point I wanted to make, but go ahead, Dan.
In game 3, I had the lovely misplay because he hard played BT5 Garurumon and then went like Garurumon X afterwards or something like that. And I forgot that boost is all turns. And I was a little struggling with my board because I didn't have the correct pieces. And so I went with Digimon and I had Tai. So I was like, all right, plus 1k. He's going to be 7. I'm going to swing over that Guru X. He's not going to have anything for future reference. And he was like, crash. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, this is all turns plus 1k. I was like, that sealed the deal, basically. I almost won still, but I knew at that moment that sealed the deal for me because I didn't realize the 1k.
He knew he fucked up.
He knew he fucked up.
Yeah, 100%. Because like I didn't have much going on, so I needed that stack to be a lot to go to the Arrow Vigimon stage, and I lost that mini stack because it was just a Vmon and a Vigimon, and I was like, it's over for me.
Damn, that's a rip.
And then played against War Greymon, and that was Amari bricked the game 1 pretty badly, and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna keep bouncing your Greymons, and then I just kept swinging. And then game 2, he had Raid War Greymon popping off, and he went off, and then I went, all right, U-Force, attempt to bounce, remove your safety blanket, and then we're mercy mode, GG, basically. Because he had 1 security left, and it's like, mercy mode dies, trash 1, go back to U-Force game, So yeah, it was cool. If I didn't misplay, I probably would have won the tournament, I would have said.
So.
And then, go ahead.
Just want to say, while it's in my mind and I remember, Melgax was obviously very dominant during BT9. Mike and I had this dispute, and we did determine that Alphamon had more tops, and no, Alphamon had more wins, right? And Melga had more tops, was it? I believe that's what it was.
I think it was Alphamon had.
I don't remember.
It was,
but either way, you had to apologize to me because you were wrong. So
no, fuck you, buddy.
That's all that matters.
Melgo was very dominant during BT9, but it was never tier 0. Never considered tier 0. It was just really good because it shared with Alphamon. Going into EX3, I believe EX3 is when we got the hit for Alphamon. So Melga was a very dominant deck. However, if you go on Eggman's site and you look at EX3 results, the first Ultimate Cup, Melga's only a quarter of the chart. Second, a little bit more than a quarter. Third, it's almost half. The fourth one, it's back to a quarter. And what is the deck that's also a quarter? It is Sekon with 4 tops in that event. And then if you start looking at the events afterwards, Melga never really dominates to that extent. What you guys need to realize is that as decks do good, decks will see their counters rise. Where a format become... You okay there?
Yeah. Mike's just sent a funny picture. Oh, he really said that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where
hilarious.
Where what you guys don't realize is that as decks do good, new decks will rise to beat those decks. Where we get to a problem is when new decks can't rise to beat those decks. Melga, as a pain in the ass as Melga is, was never tier 0. The reason being because it had an easy counter in Sekon. If you face Sekon, it was like 80-20 in Sekon favor, like to that extent. But Sekon wasn't seeing play that much beforehand. It always sees play, but it experienced a lot of play when Melga started topping because it's like, hey, if Melga's going to be 118 of the potential decks that I can face, I'll take that chance and I'll play Sekon. It's the same thing with Dan. Dan just had really shit luck. With 118 Beelzemon, you'd think he'd play like 4 of them. And he unfortunately only faced 1. But that leads me to the second point. TCGs are all about not only skill, but luck. I didn't win a regional based purely off of skill. I had a lot of luck. Because
definitely not, because you're a shitter.
I'm a shit player. And I didn't face any Mervacross, which is arguably one of my worst matchups just because of what they can do. And I'm glad I didn't face any. I did face a lot of decks, but skill and luck, two big things in topping any major tournament. That being said,
Kind of crazy. My matchups for regionals, I went 5 rounds drop because there was no point in playing if you have 3 losses. To me, there's no point in playing regionals at this point if you hit the 3 losses, because nothing is good enough unless you're top 16 for the invite, or you're like bubbled at, which you have a chance to get your invite. So once that happened, I was like, I'm done. But like, it was kind of cool seeing that, like, the wide variety of decks I've played against. I just wish I didn't play them. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I ended up playing like, well, it was Beals, Hunters, Red Hybrid. I felt bad for that Red Hybrid player. That was like an easy 2-0. It's just like the moment Chaos Shaman came out with a stack, they just can't do anything about that. Then I played U-Force, and then I played the Mirror. So like, kind of cool that I ended up, you know, playing that wide variety of decks. But at the same time, I wish I didn't, you know, because I ended up losing to U-Force and Machinimon. And U-Force, it's a lot stronger with U-Force X, so they can get around the Chaos stack, even with like multiple protections on it. Also, poor plays by me at one point, probably. And yeah,
there is a lot that goes into it, guys. So we're going to leave this podcast because I've got a jet. We're going to leave this podcast with these words. Be a better player. Stop being a scrub. Just stop being a scrub.
And Varney's had some. This is probably Varney's worst takes I've ever heard. It's
the hot takes, baby.
You've had some rough takes this one. But everyone have a great night.
We came full circle.
We did. You're catching up. And have a great time, everyone. Thank you for listening. We appreciate everyone so much that listens.
Good players or bad.
Heat and 6. That's all I gotta say.
You're bugging.
Thank you for listening to this episode of DigiPod, the digital podcast.
Come join our Discord.
Join the Discord.
Yeah, come join the Discord.
Until we talk to you guys the next time. Peace out.
Catch you on the next one.